W. Curtis Preston from TrueBit TV talking to Sherry Littlejohn, EVP at Wells Fargo. How's it going, Sherry?
Great.
So you just got off a panel, I understand.
Yes, I did.
And how'd that go?
I thought it went really well.
Did you?
It got really lively at the end, actually. That's what I really liked. And,
I think
then we had to cut it off.
They see the end coming and they get feisty.
Yes.
So tell me what you do for Wells Fargo.
So I'm head of enterprise architecture and IT strategy for the bank.
And so what does that end up entailing?
So we provide the total view of the architecture in terms of understanding what's happening across the bank. And one of the things that we've done is put an enterprise view of what it takes to do banking, understanding what our systems are, what our capabilities are, and then what are the tools and technologies that we need and are using to actually build and run the bank. And then ultimately, how do we grow the bank from understanding that as a fundamental?
So having worked previously for a large bank, tell me what it's like now when Wells Fargo has over the years acquired companies and all that sort of stuff, and you also have various departments that each have their own opinions about what architecture should be like. What
so
is
you
that
really do
like?
Know us.
What is that like? To try to have an enterprise-wide architecture decision when you have all these, little parts of the company.
So let me say this: the way we run architecture, we run it as a community. I have the enterprise architecture, meaning bringing all the piece parts together. But we have chief architects that run infrastructure, one that runs retail. And in the retail space, I should say in the CIO space, we have someone for retail, someone for wholesale. But they actually have teams of architects and developers that work for them.
Right.
My role is to provide the governance and the structure for allowing that to happen in a cohesive manner. And one of the things we're trying to do, especially as technology is changing, and I am trying to make it easy for folks to understand how they use the infrastructure, build applications, and understand that security threads all of this, is to make sure we bring these things to the forefront of our thinking so that I'm not at the end of the day and I'm about to put something into production and say, oh, I forgot to ask about my security questions. What we're trying to do is bring all of that to the forefront so we ask the right questions at the beginning as part of that architectural decisioning. And we have what we call living target architectures that everyone has availability to and can understand what's happening over in middleware, what's happening in the infrastructure, around the network, et cetera. And what's also happening in where we're going with data. And how does that fit with my applications and my infrastructure?
Yeah, it's funny, when you said living target architecture, I figure everybody has an opportunity to shoot at it. That's what
that's probably true too.
Because I certainly remember going through that myself. Well, listen, I think about all of these different things, and what do you do when you have, let's say, a couple of different architects that
have a different opinion?
That have a different opinion. How do you?
That never happens.
That's never happens. What's been your? How do you come to some sort of consensus?
Okay, so I consider us part of my job is herding the architects, the A-type personalities.
It's like herding cats.
Yes,
you know that.
exactly.
Yeah.
I was trying not to call them cats. But they are mostly men, cats, if you want to think of it from that perspective. But one of the things that I bring up is allow them a place where we can have that dialogue. And we can agree to disagree because we all have opinions and we also have strong opinions.
Right.
So do I.
Right.
But my view is my job is to help us to come up with what makes sense for the customer ultimately. If we can keep that as our focus when everything that we do, we're able to come to a better conclusion as opposed to Johnny says, I want to do this. Mary says she wants to do that. Because of what they believe. Well, how does that impact the customer? Whenever we bring that up, we're able to come to, oh, I get it, rational. Now you can say we think about cost, and we do that too, but the customer is a better rallying point than even cost or functionality. So.
Well, as a former MBNA employee, the bank, we always had over every door, think of yourself as a customer.
Yes.
So I love that. I think that's great that that's your bar by which you're judging.
Yes.
I think that's great. Well, thanks for taking the time to talk today.
Oh, thank you.
And thank you for watching. Make sure to check out our other videos on TrueBit.tv.